Hi, my name is Becky Meisner, and welcome to Countdown to Zero, where I answer 3 questions from 2 wheels, zeroing in on one hope. In this first episode, Zero Cycology, I'll answer when, how, and why I became the owner of a 2020 Zero S electric motorcycle. So when did I get my Zero motorcycle? Well, in 2020. Need I say more? I guess I should say a little more. I travel a lot for my job. I mostly travel to Israel, but in early 2020, I was in New Zealand co-hosting a camp for Israeli backpackers near Tongariro National Park on the North Island. In March of 2020, as the borders to different countries began closing, I realized I needed to get out of New Zealand and back home to Las Vegas, Nevada very quickly. So I boarded a plane and flew home to my apartment where I quarantined for the next 2 weeks. While I was happily quarantined with my heavenly hunks from Trader Joe's, I began searching online for ways to be active during quarantine, where I wasn't being exposed to COVID or exposing someone else to COVID, but I could still get out and have fun. And that brings us to the how I became the owner of an electric motorcycle. Through the years, motorcycles have become synonymous with the feeling of freedom, being on the open road, the wind in your hair, freedom. So naturally, that led me to researching motorcycles online. My research online led me to go to the dealership where I got this fancy-pantsy brochure with the lineup of 2020 Zero motorcycles. One thing that appealed to me about the motorcycles that Zero put out right away was the low maintenance. That is me in a nutshell. Very low maintenance. And with these motorcycles, you don't need to stop for gas even. You just plug it into the wall outlet overnight. It's fully charged. You ride it the next day. You need to check the tires. You need to check the brake fluid. But other than that, it's very low maintenance as far as motorcycles go. So that appealed to me right off the bat. Also, clutchless drive really appealed to me. Just being able to roll on the throttle and go. That's it. You have no clutch. You don't have to worry about the clutch over here or shifting gears with your foot. You just focus on your ride. And so that really appealed to me as well. So all of these things, all this data I started collecting through online research and going to my local dealership that sells Zeros. And they were very helpful in giving me the information I needed to make a decision. Also, being the safety conscious person that I am, I signed up to take the basic rider course from the Motorcycle Safety Foundation. This was something that once I completed it, I could just take my completion certificate to the DMV and they would certify that I am motorcycle ready on my license. So certified motorcycle rider, really thankful for the instructors, really thankful for this course being available, very helpful in making me feel road ready in riding a motorcycle. So I encourage you, if you haven't taken this course, it's something that's really beneficial in getting started. So our third question is really at the heart of really what we're talking about today in Zero Cycology, and that is why? Why? That's something my mother has asked me repeatedly. Why? Why are you riding motorcycles? And I have to say, I think it was a combination of things. I was approaching midlife, what I consider midlife. Maybe it's further along, maybe I passed midlife a while ago. but I was approaching 40 years old, and then it was like midlife crisis meets COVID crisis in my life. And I thought, you know what? Why not? And at the heart of it, really, I think, is that desire for freedom. And it really felt like infringed upon during the COVID years. And we're still facing that now. But not being able to get out, not being able to travel, not being able to see the world. And again, it comes down to that thought of freedom, wanting to be free and wanting to feel free and wanting to be riding down the open road with the wind in my hair and really just getting out and being free. Wanting to feel free from quarantining in my little apartment. But really what it all comes down to, for me as a Christian, freedom that I've been called to is a freedom to love. And that brings us into zeroing in on what is the freedom of my one hope. Galatians 5:1 says, "For freedom Christ freed us. Stand fast, therefore, and do not be entangled again with the yoke of bondage." In verse 13, it says, "You brothers have been called to liberty, only do not use liberty to give an occasion to the flesh, but by love serve one another. For the entire law is fulfilled in one word, even in this, you shall love your neighbor as yourself." He's saying this calling, we've been called to freedom. That's our calling. But don't use that freedom to just live for yourself and your own selfish desires. He says, no, you've been called to something greater. It's a freedom to love. That's the freedom we're called to. The freedom to love our neighbor. The freedom to reach out and care for others. In Jesus' name. That's the freedom he calls us to. That's a freedom that can never be taken away from me. And that's the freedom of my one hope. Hey, be sure to tune in next week as I share how my motorcycle Tikva got her name. Be sure also to like, subscribe, and follow My One Hope. Thanks. Have a good one.